Just a few minutes from now in Ferguson, Missouri, local members of the National Action Network, founded by MSNBC host Al Sharpton, will hold a vigil with the parents of Michael Brown. They are demanding that police officer Darren Wilson be arrested for Brown's death. However, the Washington Post reports that prosecutors are taking quite an unusual approach. The office is reportedly presenting all evidence and witnesses as soon as they come in. They are not waiting for the police and the FBI to complete their investigations. Well, joining me right now is from the Washington Post columnist Dana Milbank, and we're getting mic'd up right now, defense and civil rights attorney Eric Guster. So I'll put this first question to you. Oh no, Eric, you're good to go?
Yes, I'm good to go. I'm ready to go.
I talked split timing there, if y'all knew what was going on behind the scenes here. Anyway, but Eric, I'm glad you're here, so I'll begin with you. In addition to the way that they are presenting the evidence, we were talking about the prosecutors who are not yet telling the grand jury what charges they think Wilson should face. So how does all that affect the indictment?
Well, the prosecution has a duty to make sure that they protect the integrity of the investigation. They don't want to talk too much about the charges because people who are on the grand jury, they pay attention to MSNBC, they read the newspaper, so those people could be influenced by what the prosecutor says. So I am not very concerned about them not saying exactly what charges they're seeking right now.
Okay. Dana, I know that you cover the grand jury process here in your latest column. Here's what you write. What happened in Ferguson last month was a tragedy. What's on course to happen there next month will be a farce. Now, the prosecutors are saying this gives the jury every possible angle, the way they're approaching it. Why do you disagree?
Well, look, it is possible that before this wraps up, most likely next month, that they will recommend a charge. It's highly unusual that they haven't recommended a charge. We're not talking about that in public. We're saying they have not recommended any charge, even a relatively low charge like involuntary manslaughter, to the grand jury. Now, maybe you would give the prosecutors the benefit of the doubt, but as my colleagues at the Post have looked into this guy, Robert McCulloch, the St. Louis County prosecutor, he's been on the job 23, 24 years, not a single prosecution during that time of a police shooting. He obviously has his own personal background. His father was a policeman who was killed by a black suspect. And then there was this infamous case when he was unable to get a grand jury to file charges against the police when two men were shot 21 times in their car at a Jack in the Box restaurant back in 2000, and justifying, he said he agreed that no charges should have been brought, and he said the guys were bums. So when a guy is thinking that way, you're less inclined to give him the benefit of the doubt. That's why a lot of people have said that if this guy isn't going to step aside, then Governor Nixon needs to name an independent prosecutor.
Eric, given hearing all this, and this has been out there, this discussion, should he be recusing himself from this case? I
believe out of an abundance of caution, McCulloch should step aside because this case is in the eyes of the public and of the world, and with his potential bias and potential relationship with the police officers, because this man, he deals with police officers every day, he works side by side with them, and oftentimes it's hard for someone to separate their personal relationship from prosecution. So in the interest of caution and making sure the public is very we believe in his prosecution, he should step aside, because if this case comes back as a no bill, or if they try it and get a not guilty verdict, he will be ostracized from the community.
So combine what you just said there with the fact the Brown family holding the vigil today under the banner "Arrest Him Now." Is the investigation, Eric, following a proper timeline?
Well, in these investigations, the prosecutor, they have to put the evidence, all the evidence that they have, in front of the grand jury. So I don't necessarily think that they would be pushing the gun to, bad choice of words, with arresting him right now, because they know where he is, they know how to locate him. So in the event that a true bill comes back with an indictment, then he will be arrested at that point.
Dana, your column says that you think it's a good bet that the grand jurors are not going to charge him, and the ideology behind that is?
Well, because you know the old saying is that a grand jury will indict a ham sandwich if a prosecutor asks them to. They basically do what the prosecutor asks them to. This is not a jury in a criminal trial, but the opposite is also true. And if the prosecutors, this isn't McCulloch himself, this is two people working under him, if they just say, well, we've got a whole load of evidence here, you guys make of it what you want, less likely to deliver that result, and it sort of gives cover if an indictment is not returned to say, well, it wasn't me, it was the grand jurors. Now, I think it's important to say I'm not sure anybody's saying that this cop is actually guilty. That's for a trial to decide. But there are a whole lot of people and a whole lot of the evidence that's not really being contested at all that would suggest something has occurred here.
What charges, if any, Eric, do you expect Officer Darren Wilson to face?
Murder or some type of manslaughter charge based upon what happened, based upon the new witnesses and new evidence that has come forward. And we have to keep in mind, we haven't seen everything, but I would expect some type of manslaughter charge. And what he just said was right. And a prosecutor can put forth a case to indict regardless of what this evidence is. They can influence the jury based upon what they say and how they present it, because this is a proceeding where there is not cross-examination and the prosecutor is in total control of what happens and total control of the proceedings. So that's why McCulloch should have stepped aside, just to protect the integrity of this process. And
Dana, look, I know you've covered a lot of these difficult kinds of cases. What sort of impact do you expect if Wilson is not indicted on any charges?
Well, obviously, the whole conflagration that we saw last month will be revived again, and I think there will be some justification for saying that the fix was in and that there was, that justice is not being served here. I think if there is a trial and he's found not guilty, people would accept that. They would say that the jurors have spoken. But if this thing it doesn't reach that point, I think a lot of people are going to have reason to be questioning justice.
And you say justice. The Justice Department, the feds, what do you think they'll do?
Well, they'll get involved. I mean, but that'll be years down the road as these civil rights proceedings go. Really, if it's up to the St. Louis County prosecutor, and if he's not going to take this seriously, then it's up to the state's governor, Governor Nixon, to get somebody in there who will.
Dana Milbank and Eric Guster. Good conversation. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, thanks,
Thank
Alex.
you.